go. Let's say a prayer. I invite you to place your hands on your heart, close your eyes, and take that deep breath of love and gratitude. So grateful for this opportunity to come together to be the two or more who are gathered in the name and the nature of love. We're grateful to know that we are blessed and we are a blessing. We're grateful for our dedication and devotion to doing our own healing work, to shining the light on any blocks to love, to shine them away, to dissolve them and resolve them back to the root source in all directions of time and space. We're grateful for our willingness to understand, embody, and live the teachings of A Course in Miracles. We're grateful for all of our teachers, known and unknown, felt and not felt, recognized and not recognized. We're grateful for all of our earthly and heavenly helpers, and we call on them right here and right now to join us during this call, leading us and guiding us and blessing us. We're grateful for technology that allows us to come together, and we're grateful that we get to share the benefits of the love that we are, of the blessings we receive, of the awakening awareness with everyone because we're one with them. In grace and gratitude, we let it be, and so it is. Amen. So this was a long one, a little longer than we're used to, but jam-packed full of goodies. Would someone like to begin sharing? Go ahead, Leslie.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. I am in a new building right now, just temporarily for a week. So they're doing the sanding of the floors in the main office. So that's why my background looks a little different. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm only going to be able to be on for the first half an hour. I did read the lesson, but I did not take any notes. Scott was in the hospital. He went in for the colostomy reversal on Thursday, and he's already home. So he only spent 4 nights in the hospital, which is like amazing. I mean, I swear he has such a great attitude, and I'm so grateful for that. And I spent Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the hospital between 8 and 10 hours a day, and 12 hours probably on Thursday because the surgery was 4.5 hours. And it was really interesting I just really kept trying to center myself in the present moment, in the now moment, and knowing that everything is temporary. And it was fun. One part that was fun, actually 2 things that were really fun. One is they play a lullaby whenever a baby is born. So every time a baby was born, I'd put my hand on my heart and I would just say, I bless this baby with my holiness. I bless the parents with my holiness. I bless the grandparents. I would just totally bless the baby. And there are 4 births on Thursday, and then 3 births on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. So every time there was a lullaby, I got to do that. And it just felt so nice. And then on, I think it was, I can't remember, it was Friday. I don't remember what day it was, but they had, it's a Catholic hospital, so they had a prayer service at 3:30, and of course I went down there. It was probably 15 minutes, and they had scripture that they read, and it was short. It was like 15 minutes. So they read a couple scriptures, and then they said a prayer, and then they asked if anybody had any prayer requests or anything to say. So I just stood up boldly and I said the blessing prayer that's in Jennifer's books, and bless this situation. May all concern be blessed in all areas. And this was right after Kobe Bryant too. I think it was after we heard that he died. I'm not sure, but it just felt so good. I had 3 people come up to me afterward and thank me so much for that prayer. So it was funny because I almost wasn't bold enough to do it. I'm just like, why not? Oh, and I know what it was. They were going through a new computer system at the hospital. So they were called the purple people. They had a purple jackets on to help. Well, the very first day there's a computer crash. It was supposed to go live at like 2:00, and it didn't. And everybody was freaking out. And right after that, I blessed that situation. So it's just so nice to have something to do when something bad happens. So I did feel like I got to be a blessing there. And the only time I had a moment of freak outness, well, 2 times, one before the surgery, and that was just at work, and thankful I have prayer partners that I can call upon, and I have great coworkers. I just burst into tears. I think I was just so scared that it wasn't going to work. That the colostomy would not get to be reversed, and but I got through that fine. And then at the hospital, I just had one moment when because his blood sugar was pretty high during the days, and I know surgery can do that and everything, and I just totally freaked out. And it was just within 5 minutes I was able to calm myself and just say, Leslie, you're worried about the future, because that's totally where my mind went, totally in the future. And I terrorized myself instead of staying in the present moment and staying calm and trusting God. I was, oh my God, he has diabetes, going to get a leg cut off. I just went through the worst, but I was just so pleased that I recognized it so quickly. Because I'm sitting there, Scott's watching TV, I have tears running down my eyes. He didn't know I was upset, but I didn't stay upset for long. So I know you guys have all prayed for us in the past. I just want to say thank you. And he is on the road to recovery, and I'm so grateful he's home. And his cat is grateful he's home, because he ignored me for 5 days. Like I took his daddy away. It's like, buddy, it's not my fault. I'm sorry. So they're best buds again. So now he just can't drive for 6 weeks and can't do any heavy lifting. So that's not too bad at all. And no more bag right now. So, and I can tell you guys this because you're my friends. He just sent me a poop emoji. So I take it that means he just pooped. So that's my story. Thank you all for listening. And I'm excited to hear what you all have to say about this reading. Because like I said, I did read it, but usually I read it twice. And I don't feel like I was really concentrating that well. So love you all. Thank you. And again, I'm sorry I'm going to have to leave early, but I'm just behind from work and with the move to the new office. But it's all good. So I'll be here for a while.
Thank you, Leslie, for demonstrating what we have been learning for these last couple of years, that you are absolutely applying the teachings in your life. And I'm grateful that you could see the blessings and that you could be a blessing, and that you were strong and courageous enough to stand up and share that prayer, because that had to be so helpful to people. I'm just, wow. Beautiful. Thank you.
It was funny, Linda, because it's a Catholic hospital, so I was kind of nervous about that part that says, I am one with everyone, and for this I am truly grateful. And like, they're going to think I'm a weirdo. And then I'm like, I don't care. I am one with everybody. I don't care. And I wanted to bless this. It was the whole computer thing. I was blessing in all the patients and everything. It just felt so right. So
it had to be perfect or it wouldn't have happened. Yeah. And I'm glad Scott's doing well. And the poop emoji came. Oh man, that's wonderful. Anybody else have anything to share on what Leslie said or on our reading? Robin and then Phil.
Well, I just want to say, Leslie, I love that you are so open-hearted, and the way you share and express yourself so beautifully with us, without hesitation, and just being who you are. I just love it so much. It's such a model, and I'm so pleased that things work out. So, what we would like. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, and I'm just so glad for you and Scott. Yeah.
Go ahead, Phil.
Hey, good morning, everyone. And Leslie, whenever you start talking, I can't stop smiling. I love your energy, and I love your openness to share, and almost like childlike quality. And I really admire that. And I wanted to acknowledge it. And I'm so grateful that Scott is doing good. And that you only had 2 freak out moments, and they were like short-lived. I'm just thinking like I've been in a funk for a couple of weeks now, and just feel today I'm I feel something has lifted. And one of the things that I had this great awareness, I was reading this and it says on my purple book, it is para 9 in the middle of it. Minimizing fear, but not its undoing, is the ego's constant effort and is indeed a skill at which it is very ingenious. How can it preach separation without upholding it through fear? And would you listen if you recognize that this is what it is doing? And, I had this total new awareness of the separation. And which is so subtle and which I didn't have it all this time. Like yesterday on Mondays afternoon, I volunteered this place, where they cook meals to serve people. And I went thinking, I only have hour and a half. I can be there from 2 to 4 because at 4 o'clock, Enneagram class was starting. And, I was like all geared and I've arrived like maybe 5 minutes earlier and ready to roll. And the person who is in charge doesn't show up for another 45 minutes. And which means then I'm thinking, I can't leave because I had thought I will leave at 3:30. And so hour and a half. And I got into this whole separation thing. Like, oh, now she's going to come late. What's wrong with her? And I have to leave at 3:30. And all this beautiful work that I want to do was so much into whole separation. And I was not even realizing. And then, of course, I did say I have to leave at 3:30. And I left at 3:30 and there was another person and I was not finished what I was doing. And she said, you go, I'll take care of it. And then I come home and I'm freaking out to get onto this Enneagram class and sending these frantic messages to Linda. And I'm feeling the connection there, but also feeling the separation. Why this admin will not send me the class information? But what I'm trying to say, it is so subtle that all this while, I never even thought about that. Because I always pray for oneness. And that in everything that I do, and only when I was reading this, it made me aware of, like, looking back, like how that separation shows up. And then, of course, Linda was really helpful. And then I was also getting to Robin and saying, hey, Robin, do you have the class information? And she's like, yeah, here it is. And I'm like, no, it's the same thing what I have. And, the beautiful part of it was like, Linda was able to help me and I was able to send forward those information to Robin because I also recognized we were in the same boat. And like it all didn't even make sense at that time. But this morning when I was reading this, I said, wow, the separation is so subtle and I don't even realize. And I thought, maybe this happened so that I could have the awareness and I could share on this class. And thanks for listening to my long rant here.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, the oneness can be just as subtle, because I feel like in my experience, the voice for God is also quiet. So if we are allowing our ego to run the show, which ego is always much louder, but not loving at all, you know, it's just what we're choosing. And we don't have to make ourselves wrong because we chose it, because it's an opportunity for us to learn and to realize, oh, now I understand that. Now I get it. I can see it now. It makes sense. I have a living experience that I can draw on to say, when I'm listening to my ego running the show, you know, things are going to continue to roll into this ball of turmoil and just gather momentum down the hill. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, this also brought realization to myself that my funk was very much fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is another way of being separate, you know, and thinking that I am in charge, I need to control, I need to make these things happen.
Yeah. Yep.
I need to protect people.
From myself, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can so relate to that. Yep. Robin, go ahead. And then Penelope. Oh, you're muted, Robin.
Well, I just have to follow up on Phil's story, because I kept waiting for the invitation, because that's what I'm used to, and it wasn't coming. But because it was a new class and sort of different, I thought, well, maybe I was so proud of myself because, so first of all, technology, I'm surprised I'm still here, because it just is such a block for me, and it's always so challenging. And I had gotten on a little bit early so I could set myself up and all this. Dennis had helped me earlier trying to be on this class. And I was like, where's the invitation in my mind? And I'm like, well, you know, maybe they're doing it differently. And I was so proud of myself because I went back to the email, went back to the instructions for getting on Zoom, and I found the number. I'm like, this has got to work. And I did that by myself. And I went and put the number in, and it flipped her through. And I thought, I'm getting on. And then it stopped and said, we need your password. And I'm like, you know, I'm trying to stay calm and not freak out and not get sad and not be depressed and not cry. I mean, technology can just take me down into tears. So I went back. I said, well, I went back to the thing. So I kept doing all this work to get there. And Linda, I was not going to call you. No matter what. I was like, yeah, and I was like, I'm going to call Linda, but I'm just not going to do it. And so couldn't find the password. And I got up and I was, you know, feeling all these feelings. And I finally, I went into the bathroom to splash water or to do something to calm myself. And I said, God, I love you. You know, and just please help me now. And I mean, within a minute, Phil called and said, it's been canceled. And I was so happy that I couldn't get there, because I said, I'm going to reach a point where I'm going to give up and I'm not going to go and I'm going to be unhappy. That was my forecast. But I did stop, and I remember saying, dear God, I love you, and taking a breath and I don't know what else. It only lasted a minute. And then Phil sent me a text and said, it's been canceled. And I was like, I wasn't, thank God it's been canceled, but I was like, it wasn't all on me. And the lesson, what we found out was probably we didn't get, they sent out information saying, guys, it's canceled. So my lesson is I always wait, and some of you know this, to the last minute to sign up. So those people like me who waited till the last minute to sign up did not get that notice. And so that is like, that's my lesson. And I was really it was so wonderful for Phil to call and ask for my help. And I thought she hadn't gotten, I mean, I didn't have the invitation, but I didn't know she was asking for that. And, but what was real, we had a really fun little tit-to-tat back and forth for a few moments. And when Phil said, Robin, we've got each other's back, that was just, so anyway, thank you, Phil, and thank you, Linda, and thank you, God.
Robin, I'm so grateful that you didn't give up. You surrendered. Yeah, beautiful, beautifully done. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I like that. That's good.
I'm so glad it got canceled because I really want to be on it and I don't have any information.
Yeah, it was postponed. So an email went out on Sunday.
But I never got any email from anybody. So I don't know how do I get on it. How do I
think if you go to Jennifer Hadley, the main homepage, you can sign up for the Enneagram class there.
Oh, okay.
They'll announce within the next couple of days when it will be rescheduled. Jennifer was traveling. That's why it got postponed.
Okay, thanks.
So,
sorry, Penelope. I know you're next.
Yep, Penelope and then Jane.
That's okay, Leslie. I don't mind waiting for you. Love you, Leslie. And I'm so, so happy for you. And all the best for Scott as well. And just love to Scott. And I'm just grateful that you could share that. And it was really inspiring. So love you. The Enneagram, by the way, my understanding is with the workshops that are running, that I didn't realize actually it was cancelled last night. I did sign up for it. It's only for people that did the first 3. Yeah. So I don't know if that makes any difference. Don't know if Leslie did. Anyway, just thumbs down. So. Yeah. Leslie was just giving the thumbs down then.
Then.
So what I was going to, these pages are just amazing. And I've lost my thread actually. See if I can pick my thread back up. The bit actually that I was thinking of, Phil, when you were talking is, it's paragraph 2, what is healing but the removal of all that stands in the way of knowledge, which I thought was quite appropriate with what you were sharing. And how else can one dispel illusions except by looking at them directly without protecting them? Be not afraid, therefore, for what you will be looking at is the source of fear, and you are beginning to learn that fear is not real. And that's really appropriate for me actually currently, because it was something I'd been struggling with and I didn't realize I was struggling with it yesterday, and it was showing up as irritation. And it was in the evening that I realized that I didn't actually sit with it. I just kept doing what I was doing and realized that it's kind of like some of these feelings are so familiar to me that it kind of like I'm just letting them run because I'm almost comfortable with them because I'm just so used to these kind of feelings running. And I was doing a chant this morning and then it came to me. It's really brilliant how some of the insights come while I do this chant. And I had this insight as to what was beyond this irritation. And I would have actually liked to have written a forgiveness letter this morning before I went out, and I didn't. There wasn't enough time to do it. And this afternoon I wrote one, and it was actually fear of asking for what I'd like and what I for how I would like it to be. And it's that fear of, it's almost a fear of like the self-care and the self-love, which, yeah, it's like almost alien to me, this sometimes, just to practice this self-love, this self-care. And it's to the extent where it's almost, it's that fear of upsetting others by asking for what I'd like or how I'd like it to be, just that whole fear of upsetting others. So when I was reading this, I could see that, you know, this was really helpful for me to see that's how often we're all doing it this way. And it's also great because it's from that point of, with the Course, it's like we're either operating from love or fear. And it's amazing how much I'm seeing that underneath so much of the forgiveness work I'm doing is the fear that's running. And it's like this very subtle kind of background noise all the time. And it might be showing up, as I say, this was actually showing up as irritation, but underneath it was this fear. And then just skipping to, I mean, there's so many bits in here. It's like it's almost impossible to refer to them. But this one this is one that stood out for me as well. It's paragraph 8 and it's line 5. How then can its existence continue if you realize that by accepting it, you are belittling yourself and depriving yourself of power? So it's obviously referring to the ego. And that just encompassed it was playing small. And that by choosing the ego, it's like I'm just playing small. So that was that. But yeah, there's loads in this section. I just love this section.
Me too, even though it was long. And I was feeling, you know, like I had that resistance last week. I was feeling that resistance again. I think I got up 2 or 3 times while I was reading it to do other things. Like I just couldn't focus on it. And one of the things that I got from reading it was how the ego has those patterns that it creates over and over and over in our minds. And a thought popped into my head, like that must be the reason why, like when you're studying, listening to music, because music is so repetitive, why it can help you study, because it like shuts off that ego mind so you can focus. So then I put some music on. It was easy for me to completely, you know, without lyrics, of course, but it was easy for me to completely focus on finishing it then. So, yeah. Jane, I'm unmuting you.
Hello. I wanted to say hi in case I lose the video part of it. I am also on the phone. I really appreciated the comment, "Dear God, I love you," as you take a breath. That is just so simple and so profound. And to me, that is a gift. So that's so usable. So I've been looking at this too, and like every little sentence or every little paragraph has such meaning. But I was looking at paragraph 3, which talks about ego dynamics, and dynamics implying the power to do something, and the whole separation fallacy lies in the belief that the ego has power. And so yesterday I had an experience where I misinterpreted someone else's need for me to listen as, you know, an opportunity for me to share. And it was not based on fear, but it was just based on that feeling that it was an opportunity for me to share. But now as I look back on it, I realize it was the ego using the opportunity as a form of attack. So I'm spending a little bit of time with that and just being easy on myself today because of that. But that is such a struggle. Like, oh my goodness, I don't know how people manage to just be detached and calm and in a place of acceptance and wholeness in those situations. It is so challenging. But maybe, dear God, I love you will help. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, it's absolutely a great place to start because it's something that will interrupt that pattern. That's all we're talking about. That's all really all of this practice is for, is to interrupt the pattern where we go into fear and allow ego to run the show. I'm seeing it more and more in my own experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And
Linda, can I just ask Deborah, Jane, where the line is, dear God, I love you?
Oh, it's what Robin said.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I thought it was something that was in the text and I thought, oh, I've missed that. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I was going to say that I highlighted, well, the beginning of paragraph 8, the end of paragraph 8, and the beginning of paragraph 9, where he says, you must recognize that the last thing the ego wishes you to realize is that you are afraid of it. For if the ego could give rise to fear, it would diminish your independence and weaken your power. And then towards the end of it, by accepting it, the ego, you are belittling yourself and depriving yourself of power. The ego can and does allow you to regard yourself as why is that word not want to come out of my mouth? Supercilious, unbelieving, light-hearted, distant, emotionally shallow, callous, uninvolved, and even desperate, but not really afraid. Minimizing fear, but not its undoing, is the ego's constant effort. And the thing that I got this morning during my meditation that I made the deep desire of my heart for the day is that I have access to a power greater than all of my fears. And it's that, I love you, God, help me now. That's so simple, so easy. And the ego doesn't want us to realize how simple and easy it is to just kind of blow away those ego fears and ego thoughts and patterns, like you are a piece of dust on the table or something. Who else would like to share? Bye, Leslie. Diane.
Thanks everybody for your share, and I particularly like how I think Phil used that it's so subtle. The egoic thought system is so subtle, and what I found for myself, I read this morning before the class, and I was feeling a lot of overwhelm because it was long, and also because I was like, oh, I'm not getting this. And I had this thought in my mind as I was reading it. I was like, I wished it was organized in a more clear way for me to understand it. And then I got to paragraph 13, where it says the ego analyzes, the Holy Spirit accepts. And I realized that as I was reading, I was trying my best to analyze everything, and I wasn't getting it. So it was my egoic thought system that was driving the reading of this lesson, rather than just kind of showing up with a more curious and open and accepting attitude to what these words would say to me. So I kind of did it to myself. I only read through it once because of the time factor. And most of the time I was feeling, I was sort of in overwhelm rather than allowing the words to speak to me as the Holy Spirit was guiding. So, so that was kind of a big a big lesson for me this morning was just in my reading of it. And I think if I can just focus on that, as Phil said, it's the subtlety of when I go into the analysis of an issue or a problem, that will trigger all of my repetitive thoughts, as opposed to just having a more accepting appreciation. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Diane. That makes complete sense to me. And I can feel that that's kind of what was happening with me as well, which is why I had to keep getting up and walking away from it and then come back. And then, you know, the judgment won't come up. Why are you resisting reading this? And then I thought, I'm not even going to look at it like that. I'm just going to look at it like my body is saying that I just need to get up because I've been sitting for too long, and I'm just going to get up and I'll run downstairs and throw a load of laundry in or clean the litter box or, you know, whatever. But I know I'm coming back to this reading. It's not that I'm walking away from it. I'm just stepping aside for a moment. And as soon as I allowed myself to do that, it was like, okay, that's when I got the thing about the music. Just play the music. So the ego's like preoccupied with, la, 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 look at the shiny thing over here. Yeah, and when you read that, that first sentence in 13, what also struck me in that same paragraph was at the bottom of the page where it says, talking about the ego, obsessed with the conviction that separation is salvation, the ego attacks everything it perceives by breaking it into small, disconnected parts without meaningful relationships, and therefore without meaning. The ego will always substitute chaos for meaning. If separation is salvation, harmony is threat. And then the second line in paragraph 14, the ego focuses on error and overlooks truth. And I thought, yep, that's what I was doing. I was focusing on, you can't even sit still long enough to read 4 pages in this text that you supposedly love so much. And as soon as I let that go, it was like, piece of cake. Do this, do this, do this. There you go. You're done reading it. Yeah. Ego, little trickster. Go ahead, Phil.
Thanks, Linda, because it's so true. You know, one of the things that came up for me, you know, and this question I ask myself often, do you want to be right or do you want to be kind? And the answer is kind. But that kind also is so subtle, like, you know, oh, now you're saying that you want to be kind, but you're not being kind. And it trips me even when I am trying to be or being kind, but also I'm also feeling like, you know, it is good to look at, okay, what it is to be, not to be kind. Otherwise, when I'm not looking at this thought and just focusing, I want to be kind, I'm not kind, I'm not kind, I want to be kind, it just grows. Because I'm just telling myself, oh, I want to be kind, but I'm not even being kind to myself. And so, having said that, I also highlighted the last couple lines on my purple book, which says, for only the insane would choose fear in the place of love. And only the insane could believe that love can be gained by attack. But the sane know that only attack could produce fear, from which the love of God completely protects them. So it's, to me, you know, even like telling myself, I want to be kind and just be gentle and allow God to do the rest, you know, rather than saying, oh, you want to be kind, but you're not being kind.
Yeah, because what you're really saying there is, I have a lack of kindness. I have a lack of kindness because you want to be kind, but I'm not being kind. You want to be kind,
Yeah.
but I'm not being kind. Oh my gosh, I've done that so many times.
And it is totally coming from the ego, you know,
Mhm.
and like controlled by the ego. Oh,
Yeah,
you want to be kind? Okay, let me show you how to be kind.
yeah. Or let me show you how you're not being kind. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else like to share?
So in the text, when it says no one can escape from illusions unless he looks at them, would an example of that be a fear that you might have? So what it's saying there, I believe, is that when you look at it, it kind of dispels it or breaks it apart.
Yes. Yes,
And then
because,
somewhere in, I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, because the ego wants to keep you separate and in isolation. So anytime that you are living in the illusion, you don't want to be sharing that you're living in the illusion, because you have judgments about yourself there. So when we come together and we share these things where we talk about, I had an unloving thought, or I did an unloving thing, or, you know, whatever it is that we did that we're judging ourselves for, we're dispelling that. We're bringing it to the light. And so there, it can't have any power over us anymore.
That's interesting. And then I know somewhere in the text it says, when you have fear, ask for the cause of the fear to be removed. Not
Yeah.
the fear itself necessarily, but the cause.
Yes. Yes,
So
because
that's kind of the same thing, because it's looking at the illusion, isn't it?
yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's one of the things that has been really helpful for me this year in doing Jennifer's New Year's reboot worksheets. I'm looking at it a little bit differently when she has the sentence, what are the most limiting judgments you hold against yourself? What are the judgments that keep you playing small and living in limitation? And I am asking myself now, what am I afraid of? What are the judgments that are attached to that fear? And then I can write, I judge myself for whatever it is that I'm judging myself for, and how it affects my life. And I've been seeing much more clearly what the judgments are, like what they really are. You know, I mean, the fear, it's like a laser into, what is that judgment? What's it about?
Yeah, and it can affect so many different areas of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why sharing it, can't beat it. Sharing with others, you can't beat it. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
I just want to welcome Amanda. It's good to see you. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share about the reading, or anything that's going on in their life that they can relate, either where they have applied the teachings or could have applied the teachings? Go ahead, Robin. And you're muted. There you go.
Well, I also had a really more challenging to read this, and the first was there's so much, it's just a few, but it just looked like too much, and I got through it. But I was very distracted, and I would find myself daydreaming, or as saying to my husband, "What kind of bird is that out there?" And I kept coming back and said, "What did that sentence say? I don't understand it," but I really put attention towards reading it. And I got through it, but it was a hard read for me. And I think it's a hard read because it is about my fear. That still, you know, it's certainly lessened, but I'm way not over it. And I just want to come back to that because I get so delighted when I read the words calm and quiet and in the very first paragraph. And I think for me, that is my greatest tool. And as in that story, I mean, because no one understands how technology really triggers my limitations, my stupidity, my I'm not good enough, and all of those core beliefs, it kind of, that's where it really shows up. And there was a moment of me remembering, I always had this idea that to center by calming, by taking that breath, by getting quiet, and then I can move forward. And so I'm just reminding us all, I thought this was challenging, and probably, I want to get to the next section that is about redemption and forgiveness, but I probably need to do the work on the dynamics of the ego. And but I guess what I'm trying to share really is that the only way I could come to that place is after all of these years of learning and being in A Course in Miracles and Masterful Living, really opening up my learning, that for me, that key for becoming calm opens up the way to peace, even if for a moment. And so anything we could discuss, when I boil it down to something that's simple and easier, it's about becoming calm. And the more I practice it, I mean, I was like desperate and really moving towards or just, becoming undone and giving up, when somehow I was like, oh, wait a minute, I can calm myself. And so anyway, it was, I've got so many things, like Penelope says, there's just so many things. And that last sentence about seeing your brother is what I guess I would choose to read, and just my share would be every brother, and it's the last chapter, sentence 4. Every brother has the power to release you if you choose to be free. You cannot accept false witness of him unless you have evoked false witness against him. If he speaks not of Christ to you, you spoke not of Christ to him. You hear but your own voice, and if Christ speaks through you, you will hear him. I just thought that was particularly beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Robin. I know I was listening to the replay of Masterful Living Year 1 this morning, and Jennifer said to one of the participants, before you talk to the person that they were having the challenge with, which in this case happened to be her mother, before you talk to her, say that prayer. Say that prayer and be honest with yourself. I don't feel like I want to have this conversation, but I am trusting that God will speak through me, and it will be a loving conversation, and only love will flow to me and from me. Like anytime we have the opportunity to have a conversation with anybody or interact with any situation, it's beneficial if we do that partnering up. I don't know what this is going to be. I might be afraid of what I think might happen if I'm living in the future or relying on past experiences, but I'm willing to be open and surrender to your will, God, and know that your perfection is flowing through me and to me. And so nothing but good can come from this. I'm willing to see it. Amanda, were you going to go ahead? Can you unmute yourself?
Unmute. Okay, it always takes me a minute to kind of figure these things out. What you were just saying about yesterday's call, Master for Living call, kind of brought up in me, you know, something I can relate to with today's reading. But so yeah, in a breakout, we were talking about the gal that talked about her mother, and I forget who it was now, but it was great. It was, and then it came up in our breakout in the couple of people I was with in my breakout, because we were just talking about how hard it can be, you know, when you are just so frustrated with somebody and they're, you know, it's hard to be around them. And yeah, and that's what I had brought up, was what came up for me when the person in our breakout was talking was, you know, just trying to have that prayer. Well, and then this morning, which is, you know, not easy, easier said than done, I know, but it's the habit, and like you were saying, it's, you know, coming together to do this work is the powerful piece that makes us live the talk and not just, you know. So this morning, I just want to share this quick thing. This morning, I was reading the part, do not underestimate wait, was this the part? Do not underestimate the appeal of the ego's demonstrations to those who listen. Well, this part too is good. Number 16 in chapter 16 in this, or part 16 or whatever. In chapter 11 here, it says, do not underestimate the appeal of the ego's demonstrations to those who would listen. Selective perception chooses its witnesses carefully, and its witnesses are consistent. The case for insanity is strong in the insane. For reasoning ends at its beginning, and no thought system transcends its source. Yet reasoning without meaning cannot demonstrate anything, and those who are convinced by it must be deluded. Can the ego teach truly when it overlooks truth? Yeah. Anyway, just what I was thinking about was this morning, my husband came in. I was still sleeping, and he leaves really early for work because he likes to get off work early and go for a bike ride. So he came in, and he's kind of my greatest teacher, as I like to say. So you know, lots of things I get triggered by with him, and he came in and he was pissed because he couldn't find his wallet. And so he, you know, comes in and he's all slamming the drawers in the bedroom and looking for in his top drawer where he always puts everything. He always loses stuff. It's constant. So there was that thing in me that was like, oh yeah, you always lose it. Now you're gonna. And then he's like, and I was getting all annoyed with him being annoyed. You've been here, everybody been here. So and then so yeah, then he turns on the light and he says, wait, if I could have a light in the morning. So he starts to project his loss of the wallet onto me, like it's my fault because he couldn't turn the light on to look for it earlier, you know? And I was like, I mean, the ego in me wanted to, you know, just totally grab onto that. I wanted to grab onto that and just ride that wave like, oh, you're wrong, I'm right. Yeah. here we go. And I was like, I wanted to be like, you are so wrong and I am so right. And like Phil was saying, you know, do you want to be, what is it? Do you want to be right, or do you want to be kind, or do you want to be happy, or whatever, as the saying goes. And you know, I rode the wave a little bit. I cannot deny that. I rode the wave a little, and I was like, are you kidding me? I said, or something like that. What, it's my fault now that you couldn't find your wallet? You're going to blame it on me because you couldn't turn the light on? You know, and I went with that. He slammed out the door, left for work. And he found it, by the way. Took him a while, but he found it. He left. He slammed the door, out the door to work. Didn't tag, you know. Later, it was going to be a, you know, usually what happens is then when he gets home, when we're all home from work and school in the evening, you know, then yeah, he won't, it'll be like, he'll be brooding for a while, you know, because it didn't get resolved or whatever. And he knows or I knew I was a jerk, or whoever was the jerk, you know, maybe we're both being jerks, whatever. And so but I decided to, because of that breakout yesterday and the prayer, and you know, and just, you know, like you were saying, Linda, you know, this coming together and talking about these things and studying these things, and the power of, you know, people to come together and you know, study this stuff and be in God. I decided to do something different, and I just sent him a text, a little heart in a text, and that was it. I didn't say anything. I just sent him a heart. Well, like within 5 minutes, he texted me back, and he sent me this series. He loves to send emojis. So he sent this little series of emojis that were so funny. I was laughing my butt off. So they were like, the first one was like the little face with the steam coming out of the nose. And I thought, is he still mad? And then the next one was like a really silly face, you know, with the tongue hanging out. And then the next one was a heart, I think, or something. And so I was laughing because I was like, that's exactly what he went through in the car on the way to work. Like, he was like pissed, and then he was like, oh geez, I'm being a jerk, you know. And then it was like, okay, I love you, you know, everything's fine. So anyway, I just thought it was really funny that just even like with this technology too, and like, you know, we can text these little things that are just so simple too, to help dissolve this stupidest stuff, you know, just hanging on. Oh Lord, man, this life.
It's quite a ride.
So yeah, it was dissolved super quickly, and you know, but it's exactly what we're reading here, you know. It's just this ego stuff. And you know, another thing that came up in the breakout room really quick was that, you know, it's like not to take personally what somebody's doing, because it's just them, you know, holding on to their ego, you know, and whatever. It has nothing to do with me. It's like not even a personal thing. And it's so much easier for me to see that now. I'm finally, you know, after 20 years of studying A Course in Miracles, like I finally can go, oh, you know, that's not, you know, like, has nothing to do with me. Like, the separation, that separation of, not the separate, you know, not saying we're separate, but it's like separating that to know that we are just one, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's what I have to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, it's getting to be the witness instead of engaging in the behavior, the patterns that we used to. It becomes easier and easier the longer we're practicing.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a late bloomer, but
oh my gosh. Every single one of us has said the same thing. Every single one of us here has said the same exact thing.
Well, I started studying this stuff when I was like 20 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, me too. And I'm much older than you, I think.
I don't know. Maybe not much, but I don't know.
Yeah,
That
well,
was really helpful, that story with your husband. Thank you for sharing that. That really illustrates the whole process. And I guess, Linda, you answered my question, because I was going to ask, as you continue to do this and kind of chip away, does the ego get less forceful and less domineering in your life?
yeah, I think, as we start to see, like Amanda was saying, that we can be a witness to what's going on and not react from the ego space, but react in looking at, like, okay, this person, this is a cry for love. They are in fear of something. We don't know what it is. We don't have to know what it is, but this is a cry for love. And we are grateful that we don't have to come back at them with an attack. Instead, we can love them. We can come from a loving space, and we can operate from that loving space in our words, in our actions, and it may not be in that very moment, but, the more we notice that and the more we notice the gap, the easier and the faster it comes, the answers to us. What is the loving choice to make here?
And, it talks about how the ego thrives on separation. So if we can really get this separation thing cleared up in ourselves, I mean, that would discourage the ego from operating, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. And it really, the tool to do that is self-forgiveness on the deepest possible level, and doing it over and over and over and over again. And I can tell you, I've even had judgments come up about my self-forgiveness work, because I will do a forgiveness letter or some other type of forgiveness technique, and it'll come up something that I've already done forgiveness around. And it's like, are you kidding me? I have to do forgiveness on this again? And now I've come to the point where I can say, it's all right. I'm just digging a little bit deeper. I'm allowing it to come up to the surface. The little remnants that were at the bottom of the pool are floating to the top, and I'm just getting ready to skim them off with another forgiveness process. And it's really not that hard,
Oh, that's so good to know, because sometimes I just get discouraged thinking, I don't know if I'm ever going to get this stuff. It's like it just goes around and around and around.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what the ego wants you to think, that we can't do this. It's everybody else is smarter, or everybody else has more dedication. Everybody else is further along than we are. And that's all bull crap. It really is. We're in this together. We're doing it together.
And then my other thought was that, this whole idea of the ego and wanting to separate things and being critical all the time. I mean, schools are really good at training people how to do that.
Oh,
I think a lot of it has to do with the educational system. I mean, there's even a lot of materials, educational materials, on critical thinking skills. And now when I see those things, I just laugh. But, yeah. I mean, we've spent millions of dollars doing this, making this sure we have those skills.
Yeah. Yeah. And it starts even before that, Deborah. It starts from birth. From the time we're born, we look at this precious miracle infant that came through us from God, and we're like, oh, how beautiful, how awesome this is. All right, God, I got it from here. Really? I'm going to teach you what everything is, how everything works, what you are allowed and not allowed to do, feel, think. It starts from birth.
Yeah, and then the government takes over and tries to do the same thing.
Yeah, because that's how the government was raised, just like us. Just like us. The government was raised that way. The education system was raised that way. The medical system was raised that way. Every system that we have in place was raised that way.
You're right. I didn't think of it that way. Wow, that's really helpful, Linda. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, go ahead, Penelope.
Yeah, just real quick, Linda, because I know we're over time. Yeah, Amanda, when you were saying, you wish you done it 20 years. When you were 20, my thought was I wish I'd started reading and studying this when I was like 5 or something. But the other thing I just wanted to say is it's just part of this line, and it's paragraph 12. It's not the whole line, but this for me felt really powerful. God is as dependent on you as you are on him. And that I found really powerful. So just that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Penelope. Yeah, because our brothers and sisters are our saviors. God is depending on us to bring each other up, to raise each other up. You know? Yeah.
You know, I had this experience. I'll just share this briefly because I know we're quick on time. But anyway, I had this person come to my home last week and really went off and did an attack thing on me. So I was really upset afterwards for about a day and a half. It really set me off. So then she was supposed to come back today, so I was all preparing for a week to do this again, you know, and to go over it and how I was not going to do it. And I had decided that I wasn't going to avoid her, but instead I was going to deal with it as much head on as I could and try to avoid the confrontation. Well, it comes that she canceled it and didn't come, which was I was very relieved about, and I know I'm going to have to deal with it in the future. But it was just that thing where I actually took the time to think, well, wait a minute, how do I want to deal with this? And I don't think I've done that before. I don't think I've had that kind of step back awareness.
Wow. Yeah, and you created the miracle, Deborah, where she canceled.
Well, I won't take total credit for that, but I wouldn't mind if the miracle happened again.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I'm sorry that you had to stay in it for 2 days, but you know, my thought was, how long would you have stayed in it before? You know, before you were dedicating yourself to studying and to realizing that you are a perfect, innocent child of God, no matter what your situation and circumstances look like from the outside.
Oh, Linda, I would have stayed in it days. I mean, I would still be in it, but, you know, it came and went. But luckily, I mean, I was able to have that kind of insight. So I guess that is an indicator of some kind of growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Deborah. Well, we are way over time. I do like to keep it an hour because I know a lot of people have to leave because of work or whatever. So I'm gonna close this out. So next week, we're continuing on in chapter 11. We'll do the waking to redemption. So yeah, that should be. And I'm going to read from my lesson today in A Course in Miracles, which is lesson 28. This is the Pathways of Light. And oh, by the way, next week, much shorter. Just so you know. The insights from lesson 28, above all else, I want to see things differently. And isn't that what we were talking about this entire hour? While growing up, I learned to give meaning to everything around me. It's just what I said. I learned what everything is for. I am now learning to step back from my past, to let go of the past. I am now learning to have an open mind about what anything is for or what it is for. I am learning to let go of my automatic responses and open to a new meaning given me by Holy Spirit. This has not been easy for me unless I quiet my mind. Right, Robin? Slow it down and let it shift into another gear. When I do this, the Holy Spirit lifts the veil, the meaning I have given things, and shows me the love of God that lies behind each thing that I see. This only happens when I am willing. The part of the lesson that says above all else is meaningful here. Unless I really want to see things differently, I will bring the past to the present. Right now, I am working with above all else. I find that often it isn't above all else, but today's lesson brings me closer through consistent practice to let that above all else, I want to see things differently, a little closer to my experience. I really want to practice today's lesson as often as possible, knowing that this practice will lead me toward more consistency in seeing the light of God that is really there. I am willing to take it a step at a time and forgive myself if I forget. I want to consistently remember that there is only love. God is all. There is nothing else. Today I take one more step by practicing this lesson over and over. This leads me to freedom. This leads me to consistent experience of the peace of God. As I did the practice exercise, it became clear to me that my day is filled with labeling and categorizing and sorting things I hear and see into various boxes of meaning. If something occurs that I cannot easily put into one of those boxes, I feel uneasy because it seems like I don't know what it means. Without a meaning that I can assign to it, it can even seem fearful because it is unknown and I don't know how to defend against it if need be. All this comes because I have learned that it is my job to assign meaning to everything. That is what perception is for, or so I have learned. This lesson is helping me to let go of this idea. It is helping me withdraw from the role of assigning meaning and open to the meaning that lies beyond the form, beyond the label and categories I have learned in the past. As I can open my mind and withdraw the assignment of meaning from the past, I can receive the Holy Spirit's enlightening vision. I become open to see the light that is shared by all that is real. The statement is a commitment, a dedication that I may not believe wholeheartedly yet, but each little step in that direction leads me to freedom. It leads me to recognize myself as I was created and as I am. Here is the peace of God, for I was created in the peace of God. There can be no goal greater than this, no greater satisfaction than reaching it. Above all else, I want to see things differently. When I say the words to myself, I want to see things differently, I noticed that my attention is drawn to the word want. I noticed as I looked around and really asked myself, do I really want to see this differently? A strong sense of peace came over me. The biggest gift in this lesson today is the comfort that when I do get tired of assigning meaning to everything, there is a truth that will embrace me. I can make a commitment to withdraw my preconceived ideas. I can let go gradually with an open mind, knowing that when my mind and heart join in unity to see the light in everything, it will be there for me. Above all else, I want to see things differently, and it will in the time that I allow it. The peace of God is shining in me now. Above all else, I want to see the peace of God. Above all else, I want to see the radiance of love that is the real truth of my brother and all things that are part of God. I want to bless the truth in myself and my brother. Connecting with the radiance within everyone and everything is my goal. Herein lies the peace of God. Take my sight, O God, and let me see anew. I give to you myself. My life is yours. It has always been yours, but today I choose to recognize this is so in every moment. Your purpose is my purpose. Your love is my love. We are one in all that I am. This is my comfort and my joy. I am not alone. I am one with you, and that can never change. Above all else, I want to see oneness surrounding me. I want to see you and my brothers and sisters. I want to see you in all things, circumstances, and events. In having this sight, I have all there is to have. In this, I am complete and whole. In this, I am in the now with you. And this is my only reality. Above all else, I want the reality of my existence. I've felt lately a connection that others are experiencing this process of changing mind in so much the same way as I am. It seems to help that others seems to experience the same frustrations that I seem to feel. Also, when I see talk of positive progress, that makes me feel more certain that I can too. I was struck by the reference to the table as a way of gaining vision. It may not be particularly flattering that we aren't essentially different from the table in sharing the purpose of the universe, but it does eliminate a lot of complications. I think the point is that there is nothing outside of our mind, and our real mind is the one mind that encompasses all that is. We're learning that there is someone or even something else. I'm sure I haven't learned that yet, but I'm very grateful that I'm willing to be taught. Yes. Willing to be willing to be willing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm glad you could stay. Love you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome, Amanda. I'm unmuting you too, Jane. Thank you, everybody. See you next
Thank
week.
you. Bye-bye.
Much love.
Bye.